everyone, and good morning, and welcome to our last and final Transfer Talks job search series in session 4, and we're going to go over how to interview for a position with a few key tips and how to be successful in your interview. So first, we're going to talk about your presentation. What do you wear? You dress to impress. You dress in clothes that are clean, ironed, or dry cleaned. You want to make sure that what you're wearing gives you the confidence. You need to be able to present yourself in the best way possible, but still very professional. So what do you wear? Dress shirts and blouses. You want to focus on being solid colors, minimal patterns if necessary, or nothing busy to distracting. Ties, if you wear a tie, you want it hanging to the belt line. You don't really want it to go past your belt buckle or too short from your belt to just above your belt buckle. You want it to hang right around your abdomen, lower abdomen. Dress socks. So if you wear shoes, you want to make sure that your dress socks and your shoes match your outfit. And your socks should not be white if you are wearing a dark colored suit. So if you're wearing a navy, black, even a dark gray, you want your socks to match. And your shoes are shined and things like that. And if skirts in a suit should be right around the knee, slightly above or slightly below is perfect height, and that goes for dresses as well. Shoes should be heels or nice flats to match the outfit. Typically a basic black shoe or flat or nude is always a good option. Makeup should be natural and light and airy, and it should not look like you have any on or very little on. So those are some of the do's. The don'ts: facial hair. There should be none, or should be nice and trimmed and neat so you look well put together. Again, you want to avoid distracting patterns and busyness on your clothes. Pinstripes are okay. You don't want to venture too far outside of that. The rolling of the pants tends to be a typical dress that is not professional. It's very casual. It's very not appropriate. And you always want to make sure you wear socks. Don't forget your socks, and just make sure that they are dark colors. If you're wearing if you're wearing dark pants, for those that wear necklaces, you want to make them very minimal, very elegant, or not super distracting. Bright colors or patterns, you want to reduce that as well. Capris are definitely too casual, whether they be slacks or otherwise. Full length pants or a skirt, not really anything in between, or skirt or dress. And open-toed shoes are kind of, ideally you want to keep your shoes closed-toed, and it gives you a cleaner look, a more professional style. And just make sure that you know, if you are interviewing in a place where you get a tour, your toes are covered and in a safe place. Also, then you don't have to worry about having your nails done. So here are some examples of some outfits that you can wear. Yes, in this photo, one of the women are wearing open-toed shoes. It is technically okay to wear peep toes, but ideally you want to focus on closed-toed shoes, making sure that you look professional. Ideally, open-toed shoes are pretty much no sandals, no flip-flops, no slides, just dress shoes that match your outfit. So men, the male loafer or shoe that can typically be worn are black, brown, gray, as long as it matches the outfit. And so during your interview, once you get there, you want to sit up straight. You want to keep eye contact. The answers should be clear, concise, short. Avoid rambling as much as possible. Keep them very focused on answering the question. Don't stress too much about giving too much detail. You want to hone in on what exactly the answer you want to give is. And in those answers, you want them to be truthful as possible. You want to make them, you want to give yourself in the best light, but yes, some things don't always go right in past jobs. So them being able to see how you are able to take what you've learned or take what happened and you learned from it is a great way to do it. And in your answers, you avoid and yeah, and reduce the use of the word like as much as possible. You want to sound professional and using proper grammar. So when you answer a question, if it's a yes or no, you say yes, you don't say yeah. And if you need to take a break, you just stop. Take a breather, process what you're trying to think, and then continue. So you avoid the use of or just like or any sort of unnecessary sound. And then we get to questions. So as you go through the interview, there are some spots where you can ask for questions. Typically it's towards the end, but every so often in some interviews, you'll be given the option to ask them throughout. So what are some good questions you can ask? What skills are you looking for in an ideal candidate? What attributes does someone have to be successful in this position? More skills as to what are they looking for a new hire? One question that's great is what are some of the biggest challenges someone in this position would face? So you kind of get an idea of what exactly your job would entail and what exactly you're walking into. And this gives you kind of a framework of what exactly or what you're going to be doing. And then the last question you can ask is what are the next steps? What do I expect? Or what should I expect in the coming weeks or months after your interview? And what is the process moving forward? So, questions not to ask. Absolutely nothing regarding salary or benefits. Those things will be discussed once the job is offered to you. Once this happens, you can negotiate a salary, you can negotiate your benefits and things like that. So keep that out of the interview and out of that environment. Anything with why. Why is this position open? Why are you hiring? Why do you choose me kind of thing? Don't worry about the why, worry about the what and the how. How do you, how does a typical day look? Or what does a typical day look for someone in this position? So the what questions are very good. The why are not. So avoid asking why questions. And also, who is your competition is never a question you want to ask. It's always a bad idea to kind of figure out who who the company is competing against to hire people. You're not going there to learn about their competition. You're going there to learn about the company, to work for that company. And showing that you're asking that kind of question shows that you are not necessarily wanting to stay at that company, that you are looking for just a step in the door. And then you can move to another position at their competition. Reviews. Asking how often they occur. Typically annually, just kind of know that. That's not necessarily something that needs to be known. You'll learn a little bit about that as you start. When they go through the hiring process, they'll go over that. So don't worry about that in the actual interview. Again, that can be talked about during your negotiations and inquiries about the job once you've been given or offered the position. And during that time, during the negotiation, after the job is offered, then you can go over the hours, when you want to clock in, when amount of hours in a day. Can you leave early? Can you leave late? Are you salary? Are you hourly? These are things that will be talked about once the job is offered and should not be anywhere in the interview. The hours you work are not good to talk about during the interview because it shows that you're not fully invested in working specifically or wanting to improve yourself in the position. It shows, oh, when is the earliest I can get out of work? When can I get home? And things along those lines. And promotions, again, something that'll be talked about during negotiations and things like that after the job is offered. But you never want to ask that during an interview. And it's just not professional. It's not really polite. And it doesn't show that you are committed to work in this position for as long as possible before you move on to the next. And, that's always a question that can be asked later as well, once the job offer has been given. And so some tips that we'll go over now. Nerves are okay. Sweaty palms are okay. In-person interviews, you typically reach your hand out to shake your hand. During COVID, not so much, just for the lack of, spreading the virus. Virtual interviews, yes, nerves are may not be as noticeable, but keep in mind that the interviewer knows what you're going through. They've been through the interview process. They understand that you are nervous, that you need to take some time to answer your questions. And so once we are back in person and you're doing in-person interviews, or if, they're doing that nowadays, keep in mind that as you stand up to possibly shake their hand and you're nervous and your hands are sweaty, just, rub them down on your pants just a little bit, or skirt, or whatever it is you're wearing, and just dry them off a little bit. You don't want to reach out with a super wet, clammy hand. But they do understand that, you're nervous. You're entering into a new career path and or a new job, and it's nerve-wracking no matter what degree of interview you are going through. And for each of your questions, think about it, process it before you answer. Take a deep breath, let yourself relax, and then answer the questions. It shows thoughtfulness. It shows that you want to make sure you have the right story or the right answer that puts you in the best light possible, whether it be good or bad, depending on the question, whatever they're asking. But make sure that you take the time. Don't rattle off the first thing that comes to your head. Take a minute, think about it, process it, and then answer. It gives you a chance to calm your nerves, gives you a chance to think about your answer, and it shows that you care about what you're saying and how you're saying it, not necessarily rattling off the first thing that comes off your head. And arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. If you're earlier on time, if you're on time, you're forgotten, is kind of a big statement that I've learned. So just make sure that you're 10 to 15 minutes early. Yes, you're early. Yes, you'll be waiting some time, but it shows that you're committed to be on time, to be there, to know that, their time is valuable and that you are adjusting your schedule to make it work for them. And that speaks volumes. And before you arrive, before you get to the interview process, research the company, know the mission, know the job description, and you can reference it during the interview. This gives you kind of a leg up in the fact that you know what you're walking into. You understand the company as a whole, and that you're willing to do the research in order to know the company backwards and forwards walking in the door, rather than learning it all after you've already gotten the job, or just kind of guessing as what the company does during your interview. Referencing the mission statement during some of your answers shows that you know the company that you're applying for and that you're all in. And when answering your questions, you never want to badmouth old employers or coworkers. You always want to bring it back to something that involves you and how you controlled the situation and how you adapted the way you thought or processed things in order to achieve success. So one of the biggest things is time. We never seem to have enough in a day. So that's always a good option to say, I working at my job, I had so many tasks, and it seemed like I didn't have enough time in the day to finish them all. But what I did best was I prioritized what had to be done first, what needed to be done the soonest, and prioritize based on importance to make sure those things that needed to get done right away got done. And while some things had to take a back burner, unfortunately, because of it, I was eventually able to get everything done, but I made sure that the presentation was done on time. Anything with a deadline was done by the deadline, rather than, putting it off for a week or two and focusing on things that could have waited. And while you're in the interview, take notes. Take a portfolio with you that has your resume, your cover letter, maybe your references just kind of in the back, and some note paper so you can take notes, so you don't ask a question that they've already answered throughout the interview. You want to make sure that your questions are new and something that they haven't gone over, because then that shows that you were paying attention. You were taking notes. You understood and were processing what they were saying, and then you were able to think of new and different questions that could help maybe show you as someone that's intrigued and ready and inquisitive, and how you want to actually work there. And once all is said and done, after you've asked your questions, after they've stated what they need to state for, you can always ask for a business card. And a lot of times in positions after you graduate with a degree, they're no longer entry level. So you typically have more than one person that you're interviewing with. You can ask for a business card from all of them. And yes, they may not have one on hand, but if they give you an email, then you can jot it down because you have the notepad and the pen, or something like that. But ask for a business card. And that business card will give you the contact information to send a personalized email to all or the main individual involved in your interview process that shows that you can write a coherent email that's not edited constantly by, like your resume or your cover letter. It shows that you can produce something that's coherent and understandable and professional in an email, because a lot of times today, that's how we communicate within companies, is email. Almost everything is through email. So there's one, a record of it, and two, you have to be able to put your thoughts in a clear, concise, grammatically correct, and professional manner in an email. So that business card will allow you to send that email. You just want to thank them for taking the time to meet with you. You understand their busy schedules, and you understand that, things are crazy, but that they took the time to interview you, and mentioning that they are busy and they're, you understand everything like that. But the fact that they were taking the time to interview you and to meet with you says volumes. So it doesn't have to be a long email. It can be fairly short, just saying thank you. So that's the best way to kind of end things and move things forward for you. It also shows them that you can write. And even if you have to have a little bit of help with it, that's fine too. But keep in mind that it's another impression that you're putting off. So you want to keep it very professional when sending that email. And then as you leave, you say thank you one last time to them, and you wait for their call. If for any reason you feel like time has gone by, it's been a week or two and you still haven't heard anything, you can send out a checkup email saying, hey, I'm still interested in this position. I just wanted to know where you guys are at in the hiring process. I understand things are still very crazy, still very unknown, but I wanted to reach out and let you know I'm still interested if the position is still open. If they say, unfortunately, we filled it, no, that's the worst case scenario. But sometimes things come up and things have to be pushed. So sometimes it'll take a little bit longer, or background checks take a little bit longer. So keep that in mind. Don't stress too much, and just make yourself feel as confident as possible and ready to go in and ready to conquer the world. You are your own worst enemy when it comes to interviews. So keep that in mind and make sure that you feel confident, you're dressed to impress, and your answers are clear, concise, short, and don't share too much of your own personal life, but just enough that shows that you have a solid head on your shoulders, you have the education that's needed for the position, and that you are able to work through any sort of issue that arises and you can think on your feet. And on that note, thank you so much for joining us for our job search series. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out through our Instagram, our email, Facebook, or connect with us on Indeed, and we'll more than happily answer any other questions you might have. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day.